In this lesson, we're going to work on converting the category PSD file to HTML and CSS. So let's open up our category PSD file into Photoshop. And now when you first open the file, you'll probably get this pop-up here saying that some of the fonts are missing, and that's okay. We can just hit the OK button, and the file opens up, and we'll go up to Type, and we'll choose Replace All Missing Fonts. And there we go. Now we're ready to begin working with the PSD. Now I'm just going to zoom in here to 100% so we can see the design. And for this conversion, we're going to need to create this alternative looking promo section. So you can see that it has three different parts. We have this big part on the left and then the two smaller ones on the right. We'll also need to create the categories section down here on the left, this little sidebar. And I'm just going to ignore the manufacturers and the custom ad block, as we're not going to be using those in the Laravel application. Now we'll also need the 6 individual products that you see on the right here, and these are being displayed 3 at a time, so we have 3, then we have 3 more. Now at the top up here you can see the view options and the sort by options. We won't be using those, so you can ignore them. And then lastly, at the bottom, we'll need to add in the pagination links. So let's get to work with laying out the HTML, getting the required images from the PSD file, and then we'll style it. Let's begin working on the alternative promo section first. Let's switch into our text editor, and let's open up the index.html file. And we're just going to use this code as a template for the category page. So we can just select it all and then copy it. We'll close it and create a new file. Then we can just paste in all of that code. And at the top, I'm just going to change the title to say category. And then we'll save this file. And I'm going to name it category.html. And now, before we begin working on the promo section, I actually forgot to include a small snippet of CSS for our user menu in the action bar. So if we scroll down here to our user menu, you can see that we have these 2 different menus. We have the sign-in menu, which has an ID of sign in, and then we have the regular menu, which is the state for when the user is logged in. So let's uncomment the sign in user menu. We'll just get rid of these comments here, and then we'll comment out the signed in user menu, and let's save the file and let's take a look at this in the browser. I'm going to switch into Firefox, and we can go to localhost, and that's ecom PSD to HTML, and then we have category.html. So you can see that we now have this sign in menu. And you can see that the menu, when it drops down, it extends too far to the right. So we need to make that a little shorter just for the sign-in menu. And that's exactly why we gave this menu the ID of sign-in, but I forgot to add in the CSS for it in the last video. So under the CSS folder, let's open up main.css. And if we scroll down to right before the view cart styles, it's down here quite a ways. There we go, there's view cart. So right before it, let's put in a small comment here saying sign in styles. And let's target the action bar, then the sign in ID. And so when the list item is hovered on, we want to target the unordered list, which is the drop-down menu. And we just want to change its width to be a little bit shorter. So we're going to set that to 115 pixels. And that should fix the problem. Let's refresh our browser. And now when we hover over it, you can see that looks much better. All right, let's switch into Photoshop. And let's get to work on this alternative promo ad here. Now this one has 3 different sections, and each one has an image. So we have the MacBook image here, we have an iPhone, and we have the Thunderbolt display. So let's export these images out while we're here inside of the Photoshop document. Let's start with the MacBook. Let's select our Move tool, and we can just click onto the MacBook, and we'll right-click its layer, and let's duplicate this into a new document. And let's zoom in on this. So we're going to go into 100%. And now this image actually has a shadow effect around it. It's kind of hard to see. So if we create a new layer and we move the layer underneath the MacBook Pro image, and then you can hit your D key and that'll set your colors back to the default color. And if you hit X, that'll swap their position. So white is now the foreground. And then we can just hit Option Delete, and that'll fill that layer with white. And now if you angle your computer screen, you can kind of see that shadow effect that's around it. So if we would try to do our old trick of holding Command and clicking the layer preview, it doesn't select that shadow effect for us, and we want to make sure that we keep it. So instead, what we're going to do is select our crop tool, and we're going to draw a pretty precise crop around the image so that we can retain that drop shadow. So now I'm just going to bring the crop down a little bit. I don't want to get rid of the shadow. And then I'll bring it in a little bit on the left. Don't want to cut off that shadow either. And let's fix up the right side as well. And I think that should be pretty good. So if we take a look at the info panel, you can see it's about 680 pixels wide by 406 high. So let's confirm that crop. And now before we save the image, we want to turn off that white background layer, as we want to make sure that we have a transparent background. And then let's save this. And let's save this as a PNG 24. Make sure that transparency is selected and just choose Save. And now you can see that I've already saved this out previously, so I just named it macbook.png. And mine's actually slightly bigger than this one, just by a few pixels, but it doesn't need to be perfect. So just save that out as macbook.png, and we'll be good to go with that one. So I'm just going to close this. Now let's get the iPhone 5 picture here. So we'll select our Move tool, we'll click onto the iPhone, then we'll right-click its layer and choose Duplicate Layer. We'll duplicate this into a new document. Then I'm just going to zoom in a bit here to 100%. And I'm going to right-click the layer mask and choose Apply Layer Mask. And now we just need to resize this image down a bit, as it's a little too big. So I'm just going to hit Command-T to resize it. And I'm going to bring this down to about 130 pixels in height. Doesn't need to be exact. 129 is good enough. And now we can Command-click our layer preview to select it. We'll hit our C key to select the crop tool, and we can hit Enter to confirm the crop. Now let's just save this out. We'll save this also as a PNG 24, and we can just choose Save. And you can see that I've named mine iPhone.png, so make sure to save that. I'm just going to hit Cancel since I already have it. I'll close this out as I don't need it anymore. And now let's get the Thunderbolt display. So we'll select our Move tool again, click on the Thunderbolt image, we'll right-click the layer, and we'll duplicate this into a new document. And then I'll just zoom in here to 100% so I can see it. And again, I'm going to right-click the layer mask and choose Apply Layer Mask. And then we'll resize this one by hitting Command-T. And I'm going to resize it down so that it's about 160 pixels tall. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, just somewhere in there. Now we can Command-click our layer preview and hit C to select the crop tool, and we'll crop this down. Now let's save it out. And this will be saved as a PNG 24. And you can see that I've already saved this previously. I named it thunderbolt.png. So I'm going to close all this out. So now that we have our images, we're ready to start with the HTML. Let's switch back into our text editor, and let's go into our category.html file, and let's scroll down here to the promo section. And this is actually going to be an alternative promo section. So I'm going to rename the section's ID to promo-alt. And I'll change the comment here to say promo-alt as well. And I'm just going to delete everything that's inside of the section. And we'll put in some new HTML here. So if we look at our design, we're going to need 3 different sections. So promo 1, 2, and 3. So we'll create a div. We'll give this an ID of promo 1. We'll create another div with an ID of promo 2, and then a third div with an ID of promo 3. So here's our 3 divs. Let's start with promo 1. I'll put a comment here saying end promo 1. Let's look at our design. So we're going to need an H1 heading, a paragraph tag, a button, and the image. Now when I replace the fonts, I'm pretty sure that this today only was bolded. So I'm also going to wrap that in a span so that we can style it and bold that text. Let's go back into our text editor and let's create our H1 heading. Plus we need the paragraph, and inside of the paragraph we need that span tag so that we can bold that part of the text. And I'm going to give this span tag a class of bold. And then on the same level as the paragraph tag, we're going to need a link for our button. And I'm going to give that button a class. It's going to be named secondary-btn, just short for secondary button. And we also need an image tag so that we can display the MacBook Pro image. So let's expand this. And there's our HTML. So if we look at our design, we need a heading saying the brand new MacBook Pro. Let's put that in here, the brand new MacBook with a capital B Pro. And then our paragraph says with a special price, and I'm pretty sure that that today only was bolded. So let's put that in here. So inside of the paragraph, we'll write with a special price and a comma, then a space, and inside of the span tag, we'll put today only with an exclamation point. Now for our button, let's just have this linked to a hash symbol, and the linked text will say read more in caps. I believe that's what it said. Read more, yep. And now for the image, we just need to link in our MacBook PNG file, and the alt text, I'll just say MacBook Pro. And that's it for promo 1. Let's now do promo 2, which has the iPhone in it. So we're going to need an H2 tag with this message saying the iPhone 5 is now available in our store. And we'll need this link with the little arrow image. Let's switch back into our text editor. And inside of promo 2, let's first put a comment here saying end promo 2. Let's create our H2 heading. And inside of it, we want a BR tag so that we can break it down onto a new line so we can split it in half. And then on the same level as the H2 heading, we want our link. And inside of that link, we want to have an image tag for the little right-facing arrow. And then back on the same level as the link, we need another image tag for the iPhone. Let's expand this. And so the text is the iPhone 5 is now available in our store. Let's enter that into our H2 heading. The iPhone 5 is now, and then it breaks down onto a new line. So after the BR, we'll put available in our store. Now the link, I believe that says see the full price list. I'm actually just going to make that say read more, and we'll put a space, and then the image is the little right-facing arrow. So let's change the source to be image/right-arrow.gif, and we'll change the alt to say read more. And now the last image tag is for the iPhone 5 picture. So that's in the image folder, and I named it iPhone.png, and we'll set the alt text to be iPhone. And that's it for the promo 2 section. Let's now do the last promo section, promo 3, with the Thunderbolt display. Now you should also notice that this section has a darker colored background. And when I first showed you how to extract the little right-facing arrow from the original index PSD design, I saved that out with a matte white color background on it accidentally. So you'll want to make sure that you remove that matte. Otherwise you'll have like this white border around it inside of your HTML. So you can just click on the arrow and right-click its layer, duplicate it into a new document, and then command click the arrow's preview icon there, select your crop tool, confirm the crop, and when you save it out, you'll choose save as a GIF, but you want to make sure that that matte is set to none so that there's no white border around your icon. So I'm just going to cancel that out, and let's close this file, and let's go back into our text editor, and let's fill in the promo 3 section. So we'll put a comment here saying end promo 3, and let's start with the Thunderbolt image. So we need an image tag, and we also need an H2 heading for the header here, and that's going to need a BR tag inside of it so that we can break it down into multiple sections. So it looks like we're going to need 2 BR tags. And then on the same level as the H2 heading, we're going to need a link for the read more link. So let's expand this, and let's link in our thunderbolt.png file, and we'll change the alt text to say Thunderbolt. And now for the heading, you can see that this says the 27-inch Thunderbolt display, simply stunning. So let's put that here into our H2 heading. So we'll put the 27-inch, and then after the first BR tag, we'll put Thunderbolt display. And then after the second one, we'll put simply stunning. And now for our link, we'll just link to a hash symbol, and this should say read more, and we're actually going to need an image tag in there as well for that right arrow. So let's put read more, we'll create an image tag, and this is going to use the right -arrow.gif, and let's give this an alt text, so just say read more, and that's it for the alternative promo section. So we can take a quick look at it if we'd like to make sure our images are working. Let's save our file. We'll switch into Firefox and let's refresh. There we go. We've got our MacBook image, our iPhone, and our Thunderbolt, and we have our little right-facing arrows as well. So that's all working. Let's now put in the HTML for the category section here. So we're going to need HTML for the category links, which is going to be a little sidebar. And then we'll need to display our products to the right of it in groups of 3. And then lastly, we'll want to add in the pagination links. Let's go back into our text editor, and let's scroll down here to the main content section. And the first thing we need to do is add a class to the main content section tag. So we're going to add the clearfix class to it. And if you remember, that will clear our floats for us. That's a utility class given to us by the HTML5 boilerplate. And that'll help with clearing the floats that we'll be doing in the CSS part. Now let's add in the heading here so we can see that it says category name. That's just a placeholder for now. It'll actually hold the category's name on the real site. So let's change the H2 heading to category name. And now we need to add in the HTML for the category sidebar. So we only have one level of categories. We don't have multiple levels like you see here. So we're just going to have one unordered list of categories. Let's go back into our text editor. And right above the products div, but underneath that horizontal rule, we're going to create an aside tag. And we're going to give this an ID of categories-menu. And inside of it, we're going to want an H3 tag for the little heading here. And on the same level as that heading, we're going to want our unordered list. And inside of it, we're going to want to have 4 list item tags. And each of those should have a link to create our little categories menu. So let's expand this. And I'll put a comment here saying end categories menu. And for the heading, I'm just going to set this to categories. And let's have all of these linked to a hash symbol. And let's add in our categories for the linked text. So we have laptops, we have desktop PCs, we have smartphones, and we also have tablets. And that's it for the HTML for the categories menu. Let's go into Firefox and take a look. We'll refresh. And if we scroll down, there's our categories. All right, now we just need to modify our HTML ever so slightly to display 3 products on a single row, with up to 6 showing total to the right of our categories menu. So it should look like this in the design. You can see we have 3, and then we have 3 more. Let's switch into our text editor, and let's scroll down a bit. So in order to do that, and to keep this new styling separate from the index page, which relies on specific styling for that layout, all we have to do is change our products div, change its ID to listings. And we'll be able to target this and style each of the products differently. Now I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here to update the comment for the end of that div. So it's no longer end products, it's end listings. And that's all we need to do for the HTML to display our products in groups of 3 like we have here. Let's add in 2 more products though, so that we have 6 on the page. So we can just select one of the products, we'll copy it, and I'll paste it 2 more times. We'll save this, we'll jump back into our browser, and let's refresh. And there we go, now we have our 6 products. Now we just need to put in the pagination links here. Let's go back into our text editor, and let's scroll down here to after the main content section, but before our HR tag, and let's add another horizontal rule to separate the pagination from the main content. And let's create a new section tag, and I'm going to give this an ID of pagination, and inside of it we're going to want to have a paragraph, and that's going to hold our links. And then you can see that the first one here actually is like the current page. So we're going to want a span tag inside of the paragraph tag that we can use to style that one differently. So I'm going to give that a class of current, and inside of that paragraph we're going to want 2 additional links. So we're going to want one for page 2 and 3. Let's expand this, and let's put a comment here saying end pagination. So the pagination starts with the word page, and then 1, 2, 3, and they're separated by forward slashes. So let's put that in here. We'll put page, we'll put a colon and a space. And so the first one is page 1, and that'll go into the current span. Then we'll put a space and a forward slash and another space. And then this will be page 2, put a space and a forward slash and a space, and then page 3. And let's just have these linked to hash symbols for now. And that should be good for our pagination. Let's take a look in the browser. We'll refresh, and let's scroll down here, and there's our pagination. All right, so we're finished with the HTML. Let's now add in our CSS. Let's go into our main.css file, and let's scroll down here right below our promo section, right above the main content, and we'll get to work styling the alternative promo section that we created. So if we look at our design, let's scroll up. So we're going to need to have the promo 1 on the left, and we'll need promo 2 and 3 on the right, stacked on top of each other. So let's go back into our text editor, and let's create a new comment here for the promo alt section. And let's target our promo alt ID, and we'll set this to a height of 400 pixels, and we'll add a little bit of padding. So 0 on the top, 0 on the right, 0 on the bottom, and 30 pixels on the left. Let's also set the background color here, so you can see that we have this light gray or off-white color. I just used the eyedropper tool and clicked in there. And you can see I got the color F6, F6, F6. So let's paste that in as the color for the background. And that should be good for the main promo alt section. Let's create a small comment here for the promo 1 div. And if we take a look at our design, you can see that the promo 1 takes up about 65% of the width of the promo alt section there, and then promo 2 and 3 take up the rest on the right side. So let's go back into our text editor and let's target the promo 1 div, and we'll set the width to 65%. We'll set the height to 100%, and I'm going to have this float left so that it stays on the left side, and then we can float the other ones to the right. And let's also set promo 1's position to relative. That way when we position our MacBook Pro image, the positioning for that image will be relative to the promo 1 div. Let's now style the heading. If you remember, we have if we scroll up to the promo section here we go, we have our H1 heading. So we can target promo 1 and H1 headings. Let's set the color. If we switch into Photoshop, we can select our type tool, and we can double click one of the words, and we can get the color here. It's that dark blue that we've used several times. Let's paste that in, and let's set the font size. We'll set that to 28 pixels, and let's also put a little bit of padding on the top. We'll set that to 35 pixels, and let's add a little margin on the bottom to push the paragraph away from it. So we'll set the margin bottom to 16 pixels. And now let's style that paragraph tag that's after our heading. So we can target promo 1 and the paragraph tag. Let's set its color. We can go into Photoshop and let's get the color from the paragraph. So you can see it's this light green color. Let's paste that in here, and let's add some margin to the bottom of it to push the button away from it. So we'll set the margin bottom to 50 pixels, and we'll change its font size to 20 pixels. And now we need to style the span that has the class of bold so that we can bold this today only text. So we can target the promo 1 ID, and then that span with a class of bold, and we'll set the font weight to bold. Now we just need to position the MacBook Pro image. As you can see, it's kind of positioned down and to the right of the text. So let's go into Firefox and refresh real quick to see what it looks like at the moment. There we go. So you can see that the image is off center here. It's floating down into the other areas. Let's fix that up. We'll go back into our text editor. Let's go into our CSS file, and let's target promo 1 and the image tags inside of it. We'll set position to absolute. We'll set top to 3%, and we'll set left to 3% as well. Let's save this. We'll go back into Firefox and refresh. There we go. Our image is now lining up properly. But now we also have a slight problem. If you try to use the drop-down menu, you can see that the drop-down menu is now going behind our heading inside of our promo area. And if we try to hover and click on our links below it, the drop-down menu just disappears. And this is happening because of the positioning that we applied. So we can no longer navigate down our drop-down menu as it just keeps disappearing over and over. So to fix this, we just need to increase the z-index of our entire action bar. And we also need to set its position to relative so that it has a higher z-index than the elements that the menu is dropping down onto, which is our alternative promo section. So let's switch into our text editor, and let's scroll up to our action bar. Here we go. Here's our main action bar styling, where we're just targeting the action bar ID. And we want to set position to relative, and then we're going to set the z-index to 2. Let's save the file, and we'll go back into Firefox and refresh. And now when we hover on our drop-down menus, you can see that they display properly again. Great. Now we just need to style the Read More button. So if we switch into Photoshop, we can see that it's this black or dark gray button. And if we zoom in a bit here, you can see that it has a little drop shadow effect. So we'll be able to duplicate most of the styles that we used for our default button to create this button. Let's switch back into our text editor, and let's scroll down to our buttons section, and let's just copy our default button styles, and let's paste them here. And let's change this to target the secondary button class. And now we need to change the background color. We want to use that dark blue that we've been using. So let's change this. That's the 2E373F color. And then for the box shadow, it's actually a little bit different. So if we go in here, we can select our color picker, and we can click into the drop shadow or the box shadow, and we can copy that. And let's paste this in for our box shadow. And let's save this. And if we go into Firefox and refresh, there's our button. But you can see that we have a slight problem. We can't actually click on it. It's being hidden by the image, I believe. So we just need to increase its z-index and put its position to relative to fix it. Let's go back into our text editor, and let's set position to relative, and we'll increase the z-index to 1. Let's test it out. We'll refresh again, and now we can click on our link. Let's go back into our text editor, and now similarly to the default button, we need to do the padding fix for this one as well. So we can just put a comma here, and we target the LT-IE8 class, and then our secondary BTN. And that'll fix that padding issue inside of IE7. Now let's work on styling the Promo 2 section. Let's zoom out here. So we need to have the Promo 2 section float to the right. We're going to need to style the heading and the link, and put our image here on the right. Let's go back into our text editor, and let's scroll up to our promo styles. And after the promo 1 styles, let's put a small comment here saying promo 2. And let's target our promo 2 ID. Let's have this float right. And we're going to want to align the text on the left. Let's set its width to be 34%. Then we'll set its position to relative. We'll give it a height of 160 pixels. And we'll also need a dotted bottom border here. And we'll need a dotted left border as well. So let's do that. Let's add a border bottom. We'll do 1 pixel, dotted, and we'll just set that to black. And then we can duplicate this one, and we'll change it to be border left. Now let's style the heading here. So we have an H2 heading. So we can target promo 2 H2, and we'll set its color. We're going to use that dark blue that we've been using. So I'm just going to copy it from the H1 heading there, and let's paste it in. Let's also change its font size. We'll make this 16 pixels, and let's add a little bit of margin too. So we want 20 pixels on the top, 0 on the right, 30 pixels on the bottom, and 20 pixels on the left. Now we need to style the link. So if we look at our HTML, we have this read more link here. So we can target the promo div, and we'll target regular links and also visited links. Let's make sure this says promo 2, and let's change its color. So we're going to use that light blue color right here. So that's 5D AAD0. Let's also remove the underline from the link. We'll set text decoration to none. And let's add a little bit of margin on the left side. So we'll set that to 20 pixels. And that should be good for the links. Let's take a look at this in the browser real quick to see how we're doing. All right, we're partially there. We need to position our image here. So let's go back into our text editor, and we can target promo 2 image. And we're going to set the position to absolute, so we can position it wherever we want within the promo 2 div. And we're going to set the top to 19%, and then we'll set the left to 65%. Let's save this and let's refresh the page. There we go. Now you can see we have a slight problem since we targeted all of the images within the promo2 div. It's actually positioning our little right-facing arrow as well. So we need to override that. Let's go back into our text editor, and you can see that that image is inside of a link. So we can be a little more specific. We can say promo2 a image, and we'll just set the position to inherit, and that should put it back to where it was. If we refresh, there we go. Our little right arrow jumps back down with the read more link. And that's it for the promo2 section. Let's now style the promo3 section. If we take a look at our design, we need to have the image line up on the left here and position our text on the right. Let's go back into our text editor and let's put a new comment here for the promo3 styles. And let's target the promo3 div. We'll have this float right. We'll set the text align to left. We'll put position to relative. We'll set the width to 34%. And we'll set the height to 240 pixels. And the background color, you can see it's this dark background color, so we can just use our color picker to grab its color. Let's copy it, go back into Sublime, and let's set the background color. We'll paste that in, and let's take a look. We'll save the file. Let's refresh the browser. There we go. We're getting there. Let's now style the image and the heading. Let's go back into our text editor. We'll scroll down a bit, and let's target promo3 image, and we'll set the margin top to 20 pixels so that we can push the image away from the border at the top here. And now that's also going to conflict with our image here on our read more link. As you can see, it's now pushing down away from the link text. So we need to override that. Let's go back into our text editor, and we'll target promo3 a image, because if you remember, that's inside of a link tag here. Here's the right arrow image, and we'll just set its margin to 0. That's the margin top. Let's see what that did for us. We'll refresh. There we go. Our arrow's now back in line with the text. Now let's style the H2 heading. So we can target promo3 H2, and we're going to position this absolutely so that we can put it anywhere within the promo3 div. And let's set the top to 10%, and we'll set the left to 50%. And the color of that text is white. So let's set the color to FFF, and let's set the font size to 16 pixels. Let's save that and take a look at what we've got. We'll refresh the browser. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now we need to style our link. Let's go back into our text editor, and we can target promo3 regular links, and we also want to target the visited links. And we'll need to position these absolutely as well. So we'll set position to absolute. We'll set the top to 50% as it needs to go down a little further than the heading. Then we'll set the left to 50%. We'll set the color to that light blue that we've been using. So that's 5D AAD0. And we'll set the text decoration to none to remove the underline. And that should be good for the link. Let's see how it looks. We'll refresh the browser. And there we go. So that's it for the alternative promo section. That's complete. It looks pretty good. Now we just need to style up the categories. Let's switch into Photoshop to take a look at our design. So if we scroll over here, we need to have our category menu float to the left of our products. Let's go back into our text editor, and let's scroll down a bit here past our main section or main content section. And right before our products, let's create a small comment here for the categories menu. And now we can target our menu using our ID. So if you remember, we have this aside tag with the ID of categories-menu. So we can target categories-menu, and let's set its width to 180 pixels. And let's give it a border on the right side. So it's just going to be a 1 pixel solid border, and we'll give it a light gray color. We'll want the text inside of it to align to the left. Then we'll set display to inline block. That way it'll display similarly to how we display our products so that they're all on the same line. And now to fix this in Internet Explorer, we need to use that hack. So we use an asterisk and set display to inline, and then an asterisk and set zoom to 1. Let's save this and we'll take a look in the browser real quick. There we go. We're getting there. Let's style our H3 heading here. So you can see that it should be this light gray color. Let's go back into our text editor, and we can target the categories menu and H3 tags. We'll set its color to, let's see what color that is. We can click on this and let's grab it from the color picker and let's paste it in here. That should be good. Let's take a look at it. There we go. Now let's style the unordered list. We just need to indent it a little bit and make sure to use the little arrows for the list items, for the little bullets. You can see here we have the little blue arrows. So we can target the categories menu and then the unordered list. Let's set the margin left to 20 pixels to indent it, and then we'll set list style image to our right-arrow.gif file. Let's save this and we'll refresh again to see what it looks like. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's go back into our text editor, and now we need to style the actual listings themselves. So if we take a look at our PSD, we need to have 3 products display, and then it should break down onto a new line and display 3 more products. So let's go back into our text editor, and you can see that we've changed our div ID to listings. So we can target that div. Let's create a small comment here for it first, for listings. And we can target the listings ID, and we'll set text align to left. We'll set the width. I'm going to put that to 920 pixels. And then we're going to float it to the right. So our sidebar floats to the left, and then we'll float all of the product listings to the right. Now this will actually cause a problem in Internet Explorer with the margins, and the products won't align to the top of the page properly. So let's save this, and if we look in Firefox here, you can see how they line up perfectly at the top, but in Internet Explorer, they're actually pushed down a bit. In Internet Explorer 7, I should say. So we can fix that. We'll go back in here, and let's create another comment. This will be for the IE7 margin fix. And we want to target the LT-IE8 class, and then our listings ID. And we just want to set the margin top to -110 pixels. And that'll pull the products back up so that they line up properly in Internet Explorer 7. Now, if we switch into the browser and we take a look at our products, I think that the 2 layers or 2 rows of products are actually too close. So I want to put a little bit of space in between them. So let's go back into our text editor, and let's go down here into our product styling. So we just need to change the product class and override it while it's inside of the listings section, or div, I should say. Yes, div listings. So we can target listings and then our product ID, and if we set its margin bottom to 30 pixels, that should push them away a little bit. Let's refresh. There we go, and I think that looks much better. I actually see an error here. Our links don't look proper. So let's go back into our text editor and see what I've done wrong here. Let's scroll back up. And it looks like I've completely forgotten to style the unordered list links. So let's do that real quick. We can target our categories menu, and then we'll target the regular links. And then we also want to target the visited links. Let's set the color. We're going to use that same dark blue color that we've used several times. So we'll copy this here, and let's paste it in. And let's also remove the underline from them by setting text decoration to none. And let's refresh the browser. And there we go. Now that looks proper. So now we're finally finished with the categories section. Our products are displaying properly. We just need to finish up with the pagination links. Let's switch back into our text editor. And let's scroll down past our products. And let's create another small comment here for the pagination styling. And if you remember, we have this section here with an ID of pagination. So we can target it using that ID. Let's target pagination. And let's set the height to 50 pixels. Let's set the line height to 50 pixels as well, so that the pagination links display in the middle of the section. And we also want to apply a little bit of margin on the left in order to indent it in. So I'm going to set that to 230 pixels. So let's take a look at that in the browser. We'll refresh, and there we go. They're positioned properly. Now we just need to style the links. Let's go back into our text editor, and we can target the pagination ID, and we want to target regular links and also visited links. Let's set the color to that light blue that we've used, the 5D-AA-D0. And let's also remove the underline by setting text decoration to none. And with that, we are completely finished with the category page. Let's switch into the browser and take a look at the final result. So here's our alternative promo section. Here's our category sidebar, and we have our 3 products displaying here. And down at the bottom, we have our pagination links. So that's it for the HTML and CSS for our category page. I'll see you in the next lesson.